Hi guys, it's Legionero of Legionero.com. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a quick and easy skirt pattern using Burda 6818. So let's talk about some of the tools you're going to need for this pattern. You're going to need Burda 6818, some fabric. I'm using this black Ponte knit fabric, coordinating thread, some pins, some pattern weights, a 1-inch elastic, and scissors, one for paper and one for fabric. You use your paper scissors to trim down your pattern. I chose Burda 6818 for this sew along because it is quick and easy, and if you're a beginner you can do this project with no problems. So let's get started. For this particular pattern you only have 2 pattern pieces. Pattern piece number 1, which is your front skirt, you'll cut 2 pieces, and pattern piece number 2, which is your back skirt, you'll cut 2 pieces for that as well. Now with working with this particular pattern, you'll notice that you don't have the regular triangle notches that you have on other commercial patterns. Some Burda patterns will have a straight line where you should cut your notches, but this particular pattern doesn't have any notches at all. So I made my own notches on my skirt so I would know the difference between the front skirt and the back skirt. I have both my pattern pieces cut out now. I cut 2 pieces for the front and 2 pieces for the back. So because both pattern pieces look alike, what I did, I put 2 pins on the center back, so I know that is my back pattern piece, and I put 1 pin on the center front. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pin down the center front, and I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew it up. Alright, now let's sew down our center front. Make sure you back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Make sure that you cut any loose threads. And you can take it to the ironing board and press open your seams, or if you have a serger, you can take it to your serger. And then do the same thing to your back piece. Now I have both front pieces and both back pieces sewn together at the center seam. Now I'm going to open them up and place them right sides facing. Now with right sides facing, I'm going to pin my side seam, and then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew it up. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side seam. When you're sewing with knits, you want to make sure that you're using the correct needle, and you also want to make sure that you're sewing on the right stitch. So when sewing with knits, make sure you're using a ballpoint needle as well as the stretch stitch on your sewing machine. You can find out which one is the stretch stitch by looking in your sewing machine manual, or you can use a zigzag stitch. Now I'm going to sew down each side seam. Make sure you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Remove your pins as you go. Cut off any loose threads and do the same thing to the other side seam. Once you sew both sides, take it to your ironing board, give it a good press, and when we come back, I'll show you how to make the casing for your elastic. Now that we've sewn our front and our back pieces together for our skirt at the side seams, we're now going to make the elastic casing. Now the pattern calls for a 1-inch elastic. You can use a 3/4 inch if you like. The main thing is you want to make sure you make your elastic casing wide enough to fit your elastic through. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my seam gauge, and I have a 1-inch elastic, and I took my seam gauge down to 1 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold over 1 1/4 inch. Take this to the ironing board, and I'm going to press this all the way around using my seam gauge every few inches to make sure that it's still 1 1/4 inch. And once I have my 1 1/4 inch pressed all the way around the top part of my skirt, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to sew around, and I'm going to leave about a 1-inch opening so I can insert my elastic. Once you have pressed your 1 1/4 inch all the way around the top part of your skirt, you can actually use some pins to help it stay in place while you sew. So I'm just going to pin around. Now starting at my center back seam, I'm going to sew all the way around, and when I get back to the other side where I started, I'm going to leave about a 1-inch opening. Make sure you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Cut any loose threads, and then we'll insert our elastic. Now what I like to do with my elastic, I like to put it around my waist just to kind of measure to make sure if I have enough or not enough. This seems to be just right. Or you can take your waist measurement, measure that amount minus 1 inch on your elastic. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a safety pin, put it in my elastic, then I'm going to insert my elastic into the opening that I left in the skirt. And I'm going to feed it through. Always make sure that your elastic stays straight and that your other end doesn't go inside the skirt, because it makes it kind of hard to get it out. Once I have my elastic all the way through, I like to open up my safety pin and actually put it through the other piece as well, just to hold it in place until I take it to the sewing machine. Take my safety pin off. Take my elastic and overlap it together, and I'm going to sew, going back and forth a few times just to make sure my elastic is secure. And you want to use a zigzag stitch while you're doing this. Cut your loose threads. Now you can pull your elastic through. Make sure you pull it or stretch it out so it's even all the way around your skirt. Alright. Once you have your elastic even all the way around your skirt, now what you want to do is sew up this opening that you left in the waist. And when you sew up the opening, make sure you're not sewing on your elastic. All that's left to do now is take your skirt to the ironing board and fold up about 1 inch. You can use your seam gauge if you're not sure. I'm just going to eyeball it. Fold up 1 inch, give it a press, then take it to your sewing machine and sew all the way around to hem your skirt, and then we'll be all done. We're all done. You can take it to the ironing board, give it a good press, and you'll have a beautiful, simple skirt. Well, that's it, guys. If you make your own skirt using Burda 6818, don't forget to tag me on social media at Legionero. I can't wait to see all of your beautiful designs. I'll see you in my next video.